Hello and welcome to another episode of the Two Limes and a Lemon podcast. Today we're carrying on with our spooky season cinema series where we'll be looking at different types of horror movies throughout these autumnal months. So grab your trusty steed, spurs and rifle as we traverse the plains from the dusty town of Bright Hope to a harrowing troglodyte cave in the end of nowhere. We'll bond over the campfire with 4 unlikely companions and try to survive the night. Welcome to the world of Bone Tomahawk.
Are we having theme music? Like, how do we... Is it just start with us talking?
Yeah, Dave's gonna do us some, like, a jingle, I think.
Dave.
Nat.
Danielle.
Two Limes
and a Lemon. So welcome to today's episode, spoiler warning in advance. I'm joined today by my lovely co-hosts, our resident lemon Danielle and test subject number 1, Dave. Say hi, guys.
Hey, guys.
Before we start our adventure into hostile territory, let's see what we've all been consuming this week. Now, this can be TV, movies, books, or perhaps a particularly delicious meal. Danielle, we're going to start with you.
Well, thank you. So I've been consuming, my Broadway series started up again, and the first show was yesterday, and it was A Beautiful Noise, which was the story of Neil Diamond. Usually I don't like jukebox musicals, which are musical theater that they take like a popular musical artist and either tell their life story or they like try and retrofit the music into some sort of story. But this one, I love Neil Diamond. I grew up with it.
Can you give me, like, what's a famous Neil Diamond song? Because I'm drawing a blank.
Sweet Caroline is probably the biggest one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, got it.
But growing up, my mother and my Aunt Carol loved Neil Diamond. And so I remember when I was somewhere under 10, probably like, I don't remember the exact age, my friend Jeanette and I were playing Wedding and gluing pieces of lace together and sticking it on her hair, but that's another story. But I pretended I married Neil Diamond and she pretended she married Ringo Starr. A weird little... but yeah, so I grew up with this, and I knew all, like,
your standards were very low at 10, I assume.
Whoa, yeah.
I mean,
can we just explore that? How was the marriage?
Well, I think we just had the wedding, and I remember the fact.
So you were in it for the money.
I remember.
Did anyone play Neil Diamond, or was it?
No. It was imaginary, but yeah. So it was the framing device of this play was that he, as an older man, was in therapy and kind of exploring his life through the lyrics of his songs. And I think what was the most touching of it all is that the actual Neil Diamond can't perform anymore because he's dealing with Parkinson's disease. And so he created, he had this show created as a way to have his performance go on. And so I thought that was...
Aww.
Yeah, that was quite touching.
Yeah. How about you, Dave?
I've been consumed by work this week. We've got, for those who don't know, a little peek into my life. I am a college teacher, so they're all coming back. So I won't go into loads of detail, but the idea is that there's a lot of them now, and it's getting pretty stressful. But
Dave, just for any Americans that are listening, like, what age are you teaching? Because I think college is very different for us.
They're around 16 to 18. Okay. So they're still in high school if it's America, right? Yeah, these lot are all coming in, and there's a fair few. So, and it's going to be fun already. We've had quite a fun year already. So
you've been in a week. You've had a fun year already, and it's been a week. The ones we had last year and stuff. Sorry. Okay.
Like, first week back's always fun though, isn't it? It's just like induction. It's all like the ice breaking for new students sort of thing.
Yeah. But it's ice breaking in the way that you've got to make it so it's interesting and not cringy.
Yeah.
But I did this thing, right? So Nat, last time I spoke to you, you were like, oh, you made close friends with your mate Lauren from going hi, I like this. Mm-hmm. And my name's Natalie or whatever. So I was like, I'm going to take that. I've got everyone to write on a board a little hi,
whiteboard.
My name is, and a little whiteboard, and I like this, and then I got a drum beat going on the YouTube. It was like, and I was like, I'll go first. And it was I was like, just get on with the cringe. It's fine, just let it happen. And everyone's like, right, okay. So you had this. I was like, my name is Dave, and I like horror films. Where it's And then it went round the room, and the first two were like, "Oh, what are we doing?" Then the room started getting into it, and then we're like, "Da-da-da-da," and da-da-da. Although the cringe was there, it was funny. So,
like, didn't you add the cringe?
I did.
Couldn't it have been not cringe?
Because if I didn't add it, it would have been a silent room of like, "Hi, my name is, and I like my dog." Okay, nice to meet you. Next person. What about you, Nat? What have you been doing?
This week I've been watching the new series of Great British Bake Off, which has just restarted. For me, it's like Bake Off signals the countdown to Christmas because it always starts like autumn. And it's like a tradition that we have every year that we'll watch it. It also like inspires me when it gets to like the cooler months, as we were saying earlier, Danielle, to bake. Because usually it's like once it gets to autumn, then it's like this prime baking weather. Because it's on like quite late. It's like the curtains are shut, light some candles, and it's just like cozy viewing.
Is this the one where the guy's like cake fell apart and then he managed to like salvage it and turn it
Yes,
into
that was last week's.
Yeah.
It was just like a mushy pile of chocolate, and then he managed to make it into like a really good landscape. But I was like, when they cut into it, surely underneath it's still just a pile of mush. Like there's not going to be any defined layers or anything. It's still going to be
like a cake pop.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, but yeah, that's what I've been doing. Nothing too exciting.
You'll have to. If you had to recommend, so it's always been something I've thought would be interesting to me, but there's so many seasons, I've never watched it. Where would you recommend that somebody who hasn't watched it before start?
I wouldn't say right at the beginning, because I did used to find Bake Off really boring. So I'd say maybe like the last 5 years.
Okay.
That's where I would say that I really got into it, the last 5 years. So now on to our main feature. Now my pick today of Bone Tomahawk is a movie that I've only ever seen once before. I watched it as part of a challenge that I did about 2 years ago, where we watched a horror movie every day for the whole of October. It was a movie that when I first heard about it, I was not that excited, as growing up in a household where my dad would watch countless of what I called boring cowboy movies was what I was envisioning I would be sitting down to watch. However, from the first scene where David Arquette's character slits the throat of an unsuspecting sleeping man, I knew this was not going to be the case. The main premise of the story is that the town doctor, deputy, and a prisoner are kidnapped by troglodytes. A fearsome group that have come to town of Bright Hope, chasing after a man that escaped them once before. This kickstarts the town sheriff, doctor's husband, backup deputy, and an armed gentleman of sorts to embark on a rescue mission to save their people, even though they know their chances of success are low. It's a slow burner, where we feel as if we have made the strenuous journey with them. But the excellent performances from Kurt Russell, Richard Jenkins, Matthew Fox, and Patrick Wilson, as well as the director's attention to witty and intelligent dialogue, have won the piece critical acclaim. It has blended a character-driven western with the climax of a brutal and graphic horror, which some viewers have found hard to watch. And that's why I have picked it for one of my spooky cinema watches. So, I'm going to throw it over to you guys. Was this the first time watching, or have you seen it before?
So I'll take this first. I thought I saw this before, around the time it came out. I was pretty sure. And I went watching it, and I took my notes, kept watching. And at the end, I wrote a note that said, "Where are the sandworms?" And I realized after I'd watched the whole film that I thought it was another film that I had watched at that time called The Burrowers, that is also about a party from a small town in the West that has to go out and find a member of their society that's been taken. And indeed, spoiler alert, there are no sandworms or mysterious monsters underground in this. But I will say I also enjoyed it. I'm not a big fan of Westerns. It definitely was a slow burn, but I thought it had, excellent character development, and, we'll get into it. Sorry, I started reviewing it.
Yeah.
Already.
She asked you one question. Have you seen it before?
How about you, Dave?
I'll bullet point it. No. Yeah, I'm the same with you, Nat. When it comes to Westerns, my grandparents and my dad used to watch them all the time. And I had no enjoyment in seeing a Western on the TV. They're just wide shots and slow talking movies with barely anything happening apart from just horseback riding. I've not heard of this film. And then when you were like, oh yeah, this is great. It's a horror Western film.
What was everyone's impression of the first opening scene with David David Arquette killing that sleeping man.
I was most excited, actually, because the other character in it is a guy named Sid Haig, who is like a B-movie actor who was in his later years in a lot of Rob Zombie things. And so I was like, oh, Sid Haig!
But yeah, I guess it was a good shot to start with, because it's saying like, this is the amount of gore we're probably going to show you. If you're not interested in this kind of gore, this film's not for you.
Yeah, you might as well turn away now, sort of thing.
Well, I think it also sets up that this is a Western, but this is not going to be your classic Western.
Yeah.
Like, you know, whoever wears white is the good guy, whoever wears black is the bad guy, you know.
It's going to subvert your expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are a little dirtier and grittier in this film, and you're going to see some gross.
What I did think was quite interesting is Patrick Wilson's character of Arthur, having him already be injured when he's introduced to the film.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
was he injured? Because I don't think they showed us enough clips of him hobbling around. Are you sure he was definitely injured? I don't think they emphasised enough how injured he was, Natalie.
Well, he was...
Watching him hobble around made me feel tired. Like, bless Patrick Wilson, because that was such a, like, intense role, really, for physicality. Because pretending you're injured takes a lot. And him, crawling around on the floor half the film.
You could feel the pain. It wasn't just like, you know, like, he wasn't overselling it.
Well, I thought it was completely oversold. I just hated every scene he was in. Oh, by the way, just a point one, I despised this film. I have no love for it. I went in with hope. I was Little Hope, what are they called? The town?
Bright Hope.
I had bright hopes for this film, and when it said 8 days later, that's when I was like, oh, now. And then after like a little bit, 11
days later,
whatever.
I thought you were watching. Maybe you were watching The Burrow.
Originally, I thought it said 11 days or 8 days earlier, so I was like, oh, okay, this is going to come back. But then I had to rewind. His little hobble, every scene, you had to remember, guys, he's hurt himself. Look at his little leg. I was just like, I get it, he's injured.
He was falling down a lot nearer to the end, and every time he like did it, I'm like, oh, you're gonna hurt your leg even more. Like, you were just like physically sighing. I'm like, oh, like, stop falling over.
I think I was physically sighing in a different way.
But I mean, it showed that he had, you know, like, he was really driven to save his wife. Yeah,
and that's fine. You can show that.
It would have been dumber if he was like suddenly just like like strolling along with them, and then
he did all right at the beginning.
Was his character.
It was a while before he the leg became a problem. Once
literally.
the horses had gone, obviously.
Yeah, well, he made it worse, like by walking on it.
Yeah. Do you know what it is? He reminded me of a person that's really hammering up they've got a cough. Oh, I'm so ill. I can't. Like, he doesn't want to go to work tomorrow. That was the film. He was like, I've really got to be like, I'm sick. I can't come into work tomorrow.
Well, that would be an argument for him if his wife got kidnapped and they were like, we're forming a party to go find them, and he was like, oh, my leg, you have to go on without me. Oh, and then if we just kept cutting back to him in bed, no, it was
my poor leg.
Like the strength of his character, he persevered through.
The movie itself was shot in 21 days, and they used the first draft of the script, which is generally unheard of.
Felt like I'm watching it for 21 days.
I think for 21 days worth of work, it felt like they would have been shooting that movie for a lot longer.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't on the journey. You guys probably think there was like it's the journey going with them, but I couldn't do it.
Even if they hadn't had the troglodytes at the end of it, that obviously there's like a massive massacre at the end, I think I would have still enjoyed the camaraderie of the four leads. Like, I feel like each of their characters had something to bring.
But they just moaned at each other.
No, they had definitely a respect for each other.
They did not complain.
They just made bad decisions. Or the sheriff was the worst sheriff I've ever seen.
How? He was really brave.
He was like, oh, we can cut his leg off. No, I don't want you to cut my leg off.
Because that's having respect for him. So although it might not make sense, he can't force a man to cut his leg off.
Yeah, he couldn't force him.
I don't know. He was like, I didn't know about, those Mexicans got killed at night or whatever when they were waiting at night and they lose all their horses. And I was like, they're all fucking awful.
But that wasn't the sheriff's fault. That was to do with John Bruder. Yeah.
No, the sheriff recognized that he made a rash decision at the beginning. So after we meet David Arquette, he comes to the small town of Bright Hope. He's a bit suspicious.
He just shoots him in the leg. There's no interrogation.
Yeah. The sheriff shoots him. He's acting suspicious, but to his credit, the sheriff recognizes that was a rash move that led to Mrs. O'Dwyer. She has to go take the bullet out of David Arquette's leg, and David Arquette, and the deputy all get taken in the night. And so the sheriff recognizes that he was the one that kicked it all off, and he's put Mrs. O'Dwyer and his own deputy's life at risk. And he kind of forced the deputy to stay there, like the sub-deputy or whatever, this older man, volunteers to stay, but there's some sort of weird tension between Nick, the deputy, and the sheriff, and so he's like, no, Nick is staying. And so he recognizes that he was responsible pretty much for these people being put into this situation.
But the issue is, he's saying that, like, oh, I shot him, that's my fault. Can you take the bullet out? By the way, we're going to probably hang him in 2 days. It's like, what's the point? Just let him die.
Because they'd have to do that even nowadays. Like, the police apprehend people by shooting them. They still have to treat them in hospital, no matter what's happening to them.
You don't, like, apprehend somebody. They get shot. Well, we saw him shoot the other person. We're just going to let him die with the bullet.
This guy's just having a drink. Was a bit shifty, but he just shot him straight away in the leg, and I was like...
Yeah, because he caught him in a lie, literally straight away.
I don't think that's worth shooting someone in the leg.
And he started trying to escape.
Yeah, he did try to escape.
It was as soon as they called him on burying things, because there were, like, bloody items that he buried, and so they knew that there was something more up to him, and so they were like, oh, we found these... We saw you... Well, he didn't shoot him in the heart or anything. He gave him a wound that he knew that he could survive from.
He knew that he was probably going to have a wanted poster somewhere, so he's got to apprehend him to then talk to, like, the other sheriffs in other towns to be like, has any of your people been murdered?
Also, we know what they don't know is that the movie opens with this character just, like, slitting somebody's throat to steal nothing from him. So this film came out the same year as The Hateful Eight, and I think Kurt Russell must have just, like, grown that, like, facial hair and hair that year to do, like, a couple movies in a row.
You might as well. It was quite a good old, like, tash.
Yeah, it was a nice look.
So we'll go to Chicory, who's played by Richard Jenkins.
Oh, I love Chicory.
But at one point was going to be played by Jim Broadbent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at one point Richard Jenkins couldn't do it. So they brought in Jim, but then Richard could, so he had to leave.
Oh, well done, Jim, for dodging that bullet.
I wrote a note to myself that I think I like Chicory so much because he kind of reminds me how I would be in that situation, where they're just... like, they're in these quiet moments, and everybody's scared, and he just starts telling these, like, random stories that make him happy. And it kind of...
just shut up. Ugh.
Oh, no, I love that scene.
Reading in the bathtub. I thought that was such a cute scene.
It is. It's so endearing.
And he was so happy when he got a solution about how to read in the bathtub, because... being in the bathtub makes him happy, and he wants to read in the bathtub, and now the sheriff has given him a solution.
I was praying for him to be killed.
Oh, I love Chicory.
I love him.
Do we think Chicory has some sort of, like, dementia?
It may be.
And he's drinking that soup, and it's too hot, and it's spilling everywhere.
Oh, yeah, he always has to be told to blow on his soup before he eats it, and things like that. So it was like, I do feel like maybe he's got some, like, dementia.
Also, like, how small is that town? I think that's why he was a deputy, is because at one point, Chicory goes to the graveyard to, like, talk to his wife before he goes out on this mission. And there's, like, 4 graves. That's the sum total of this Bright Hope's graveyard. And so it's a very small town. That's probably why.
It's probably speaking to the wrong grave as well. That's the pet cemetery. Oh.
I enjoyed when we meet him. He comes in and the sheriff has, like, some soup, like, brewing behind him, and Chicory was like, oh, you know, thinking it's tea, and he's like, oh, it smells disgusting, and then he finds out it's soup, and then it's like, oh, I guess that's okay, now it smells good.
Yeah.
It's because I didn't know that is it Matthew Fox?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was played by that other guy until I was on IMDb when I was watching it, and I was like, Matthew Fox is in this film, who's he playing? And then I had to look at all the characters, and I was like, oh no, there he is, there in his white suit.
Yeah, so that I was going to go on to John Bruger's character.
Dave was just so angry watching it. He was like on a Reddit subreddit the whole time, down on his phone. Who would ever like this film? Didn't notice it.
No, but everyone loves it. I was like, why?
For me, Matthew Fox is probably the most like disassociated from what I consider Matthew Fox as an actor to be in this movie.
Yeah.
Like after watching him
he played a good role.
Yeah, 100%. And his role in a way was the most complex out of like the main four for me, because I felt like when he first came in and he was all like chivalry and a bit of a showboater, you thought, oh, he's going to be like the problem one and they're going to have to like always be fighting against him. But then as you get to know him later on, he, like, things like when his horse gets taken along with the others, but...
No, she doesn't get taken. She just gets injured because she won't go.
Oh, I thought she got taken, but because she wouldn't let them ride her, they shot her.
No, he had to shoot her because, like, she got injured.
Yeah, but I thought that she got injured because the people were trying to take her.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
She didn't go very far, no, but she still got taken. Obviously, he got upset about that. Then, obviously, he had this kind of rivalry with Chicory throughout the thing where it was like they didn't really understand each other. But by the end, when John does his final stand, they've got so much respect for each other that I feel like his character had definitely the most growth, I felt like.
Is that his name, John, the one with the white suit? So you're saying it's a final stand, Natalie. He just sits in the bushes.
I know, but it's more realistic.
Yes, it failed, but...
He goes to him, I'm going to tell you how many I killed. He killed like 137 or something.
116.
116 Native Americans. And I'm like, you killed 2, mate. You're supposed to be this slinger, and you've just killed 2 of these people that just come out of nowhere anyway, and they're like, oh, what's going on? And they just get shot. And the guy with a broken leg takes out half the rest, so...
I mean, they weren't coming out like, ooh.
This John character, I expected more from it.
Well, because they got ambushed first. He got his hand shot.
Yeah, to be fair. And he was brave in the fact that he was the one that went through that tiny little alley first of all.
Yeah.
To then signal to Chicory and Kurt Russell to say, like, it's safe to come through. So he definitely was the bravest out of them all.
Well, and they've shown his prowess at being like a gunslinger twice before. Once when the coyote or whatever comes to attack the horses in the middle of the night, they just hear like the jingle of the tripwire, and he like springs out of bed, shoots, and then like lays back down. And then whenever
that's why I expected them to be a bit better. When they got there, they all just got beaten up and taken away. I was like, oh, good plan, guys.
Yeah, because they're completely unmatched for like these hunters that are like primal hunters.
Yeah, they're not kind of having the same sort of...
Obviously he says that he killed Native Americans before, but these are so far removed from that.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're up against.
I wanted to pause right here about this. I thought it was interesting, because in the traditional Western films, it was, cowboys versus Indians. And I think they've made a distinct point here where there are Native Americans who live with them in Bright Hope and they have a relationship with. And the troglodytes are like this whole other thing. They are like primitive and
cannibals.
They don't have a language. And what?
They're like cannibals, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're cannibals. But they are not... There's something completely removed from Native Americans. So I wonder if there was like a conscious decision to do that, to make like a modern Western, given, that people are a little better now at recognizing that Native Americans in this country, in the U.S., have been treated pretty badly. And they make a statement, whenever they shoot the Mexicans, somebody makes a joke about manifest destiny. And that's sort of the idea where white people were sort of pushing across to take over the whole of this country from the Native Americans. And I think some of that kind of gets ignored nowadays when we're thinking of like American pride, like whose country this really is and whatnot. But I felt like this film tried to distinguish itself from those traditional Westerns and not make Native Americans a monster or the bad guy in it.
Yeah. One part I was confused about the troglodytes was the bone voice box protrusion.
Oh, yeah.
So my question to you is, do you think that it was like constructed by them, like the bones they've obviously added to their faces, or is it like an evolution because they don't have a typical spoken language, has this... Because when Patrick Wilson cuts it out of one of the throats of
he has
one
to
of the ones
cut it deep out of their neck, yeah.
Deep, and it looks as though there's like veins or like some sort of tissue that's almost like binding it in.
I think you might be right that. So, just for people who haven't seen this before, the troglodytes can do this like really eerie sort of echoey call.
It's a bit like a raptor.
Yeah. And when Patrick Wilson kills one of them, he realizes they've got what he's like, is that jewelry? And it looks almost like teeth coming out of their neck. And he like digs, like real viscerally, like digs into the neck to pull this thing out. Yeah, it seemed to me like I couldn't figure out a way that they would have inserted that without. But then I guess also like some of the other body modifications that we see in the troglodytes, like there's the guy with the boar's horns coming out of his face. Was that something that developed like evolutionary from this?
I mean, looking at those, I always assumed that one was more of like a cosmetic. They'd done it to themselves, but I just wasn't sure about the voice box. What do you think, Dave?
I think it's probably something they've stuck in there because they've all, like you said, I think they did it to themselves to help them scream stuff, because I don't know how that would work, because it's kind of it protruding out of the chest. It's almost like they've cut a hole into it and linked it all up somehow.
But I guess they don't really show us if all of the troglodytes have that. So maybe that was just what the scout had to warn people. Like I didn't look to see if it was on the other dead bodies. Like maybe it was.
I just assumed they all had it.
I did too, but I thought maybe it was just like a procedure that they did on one, so that he could be the scout, one or two of them, scout to warn the rest of them.
Yeah.
Because the other body mod that I wondered about was the women. There's two women in the camp that appear to be like pregnant, and then they have like they're blinded because they've got like some sort of like skin humps over their eyes.
They had like posts through their eyes, I thought. Wooden posts.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay. I thought they were.
So I was a bit confused by the women in that I'm like, are they part of the troglodytes, or would Mrs. O'Dwyer have ended up as one of those women?
Oh, that's grim.
Because I feel like if they were part of the troglodyte tribe, why would they have kept them in those conditions? Because I also think they don't have... Is it that they don't have legs? Like, there's something keeping them on the little bit of bed that they're on, I feel like.
Well, they weren't moving or anything when they passed them at the end.
Yeah. So I kind of assumed that they'd been kidnapped and then made into, like, I don't know, baby ovens.
That's awful.
It was a challenging wank, I'll tell you that.
As we've said, Chicory and Kurt Russell, they get taken up into the cave, and John Bruder gets killed.
What are we talking about? I don't know where we're at.
We're going up into the cave with Kurt Russell and Chicory have just got there. Patrick Wilson's still out in the wilderness, hobbling around
Oh,
a minute.
They kind of leave him to walk and catch up, don't they?
So, as Dave has mentioned over and over again, Patrick Wilson's character continues to struggle. At one point, like, it's clear he can't go on any further. And so, they give him a little bit of opium, like, bash his bone back into his leg and leave him. But there's this whole thing about, like, leave a trail of 4 rocks. I did not understand how leaving 4 rocks in the desert would be any kind of marker. Because they didn't even leave them in a pile. They were just like drop.
Well, yeah, he seemed to be leaving them in a line, and I was like, that's like the worst way to do this. You should be like piling them into like a little triangle. Well, I don't know.
Maybe they thought, you know what? He's probably not going to catch up. We'll just put whatever down.
They didn't want him to catch up, is what you're saying.
Like, here he comes.
And apparently he's got his eagle eyes on, and he spots every single one.
He does. He spots them all. He gets everything done with his little... Imagine what he would be like if he had a fully healed leg. He could just do it on his own.
He could have. He would have just gone in there, John Wick style, killed all the troglodytes, and have been home for tea. Oh, yeah, we'll go on to Deputy Nick. Poor Deputy Nick. We literally see him at the beginning for a very small scene, and then the next scene we see him in is his own death scene, which is probably the most graphic out of the movie. Who would like to take the lead on Nick's death?
I would like to hear Dave's take on it, because he has had the most colourful descriptions of things in this film.
They're all like talking about what's happened, catching up with each other. She's been eating birds, or trying to, and
fully feathered birds.
Yeah, I don't think she has though. Because she hasn't eaten in a few days. They've given her a bird, and she.
God knows how they all survive at the end and get home, because they're not.
They've not no supplies. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's he called? Nick Jonas gets thrown out in front of everybody. They strip him off, and the lighting have cleverly shadowed his groin area so you don't see anything.
Oh, you do.
Did you? I didn't see.
You obviously weren't looking close enough.
I didn't pause it and look in, grab his head, and just scalp him, right? Really graphic.
Yeah.
I think in terms of graphic kind of prosthetic makeup and all that, I think that was a really good scene. That's when I was like, okay, this is good. It's not worth the 2-hour build-up to see this scene, but it was good. Like, they pull the scalp and he's still kind of alive, and then he's like, oh, there's an army cavalry coming to kill these people. He's like, okay.
So Kurt Russell tells him what he wants to hear, because he knows he's going to die, which is a big theme of the movie, that people are telling each other what they want to hear while they're about to die. But he gets scalped, and then they stuff the scalp in his mouth to shut him up.
Tip him upside down, right?
Yeah, they tip him upside down, feet in the air. Well, they slice him in two. They literally start it off and then pull him apart, like a wishbone.
Like they're cutting between his legs. You just see him from the butt side facing the camera, and then they rip it apart. It sounds like a melon being torn apart.
But my question is what jawbone is that sharp to cut through someone's body? Because the weapon he's using is a jawbone.
Yeah, I assume it's just that they've filed it to such a point that it's
it's
sharp.
the sharpest thing ever. I was like,
well, I mean, they had like bone-tipped arrows and things, didn't they, back then? So I suppose it is sharp.
It's the sharpest jaw I've ever seen. It's a model's jaw.
The thing that annoyed me was that when they got to the cave, the Mrs. O'Dwyer wasn't very receptive or grateful that they had come to save her, I felt. At one point she calls them idiots, I believe.
Yeah, men are idiots.
And I was like...
Yeah, she makes a comment. She's like, this is why frontier life is hard, because people are idiots.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I could kind of understand it, because she's in this situation where she's like, there is absolutely no way we're surviving this. There's no way to deal with these troglodytes. We're destined to die, and now more of our people are destined to die because they just came on this fool's mission. The sheriff and Chicory do this ruse so they can get the troglodytes to drink the opium. So they've got it in a whiskey flask, and they're like pretending to fight over it. So then the troglodytes take it off them and drink it, and then they throw it in the fire. And then whenever they realize one of them is dead, they come back to exact their revenge, and they go to kill the sheriff. And the way they, like, their revenge is to, like, slice him and then to put the hot flask into his side. Like, sizzling in. Ugh.
They shoot him as well, don't they? Because they're trying to work out how the gun works.
He's going to shoot him in the dick, won't he?
While all this is going on, Patrick Wilson's having a nice little sleep outside in a bush at one point. And then he gets awoken because 2 troglodytes are trying to fire arrows at him at that point, aren't they? Throw something at him.
Yeah. Just waiting to get shot
That scene was really tense, though. There's a bit where he's run out of ammo. I thought it was when he's trying to reload, and that one's like coming closer and closer.
I don't know. I kind of felt like, when I was watching it, I just felt like it's like they're just waiting to get shot, because they know if they jump on him and attack him, then he can't really defend himself. So when I was watching it, I was like, I don't know, just the logic when I felt like they were just kind of, they run out and were like, oh, what's going on? Looked at him. And he's like, oh, I've got to quickly reload again. And I was like, yeah, but you're not doing anything. You kind of just watch him reload, getting ready, and then they get shot straight away. I guess they didn't use music a lot, so I guess maybe a bit of music would have made it a bit more intense for me. But I thought it was just like, I just thought it was really awkward.
But I think that's what I liked about it, because it was awkward. It was a bit more realistic in that people do have to reload in these things. They don't have infinite bullets. It's not a quick change of like a cartridge like it is in modern obviously guns.
Yeah.
So it's a bit more fiddly. You're trying to get all into the chamber and whatever.
Maybe I just was like, by that point, I was done. I was like, I'm not really interested or engaged. So I was just like, nothing here is gonna.
That's what I'm wondering about a lot of this second half.
That's why I set you a tumbleweed net of like, you're like, the action's coming.
I watched the film after seeing Dave's angry remarks over the chat, and I kind of kept that in mind. And I agree, it is a long film and it is slow. The slowness doesn't bother me so much because I like the character development. But I did also notice like the real lack of music in this. There were only a few parts where they put little pieces of music in, and I wondered if that did contribute to some of Dave's dislike or add to sort of the slowness of it for Dave.
I normally do like music or no music in horror films. For me, I guess maybe this didn't feel like a horror film because it was a lot of like just Western stuff. And I actually had to Google, I was like, is it a horror? And it was like Western/horror. So I was like, okay. I was just like, when's the horror happening? There's some like gruesome bits in it, but I'm not scared or feeling intense. I just feel like it's a normal sort of cowboy film, but with some cave people.
But I don't think horror necessarily has to be that you're scared of it. It's more like...
It's like body horror, this one, right?
It's like grotesque, I suppose.
But also the building tension. They're getting towards this unknown, monster that's taken people from their town. There's a bit of tension there. Every night, they don't know what is going to attack them or they're going to encounter.
So, going back to Kurt Russell, who's got his hip flask in, Patrick Wilson comes through, manages to kill some of them, but at the end of the day, we don't know how many there actually was. We were only going by Mrs. O'Dwyer's counting. Unfortunately, Kurt has to be left behind, which I was quite sad about because I felt bad about his wife at home.
He had a very nice line whenever he leaves. So throughout part of Chicory's character development is we learn his wife has died, and he's always talking about her being dead. And whenever the sheriff leaves him, he says, "Say goodbye to my wife and I'll say hello to yours." I thought that was a nice little touch.
I was just like, yawn.
I 100% cared about every single one of these characters apart from Mrs. O'Dwyer.
She's the only one I probably liked, to be fair.
No. The only part I liked about her was when Chicory was talking about the flea circus and how he said that he believed that it was real and his wife had said it wasn't real.
Oh, I liked
how Mrs. O'Dwyer lied and said, "Oh yeah, I think it was real," because she thinks they're all going to die. It's harping back to that thing of when people think they're going to die, they tell them what they think they want to hear to make them happy. And she says, they said it was real, and then he's like, "Oh, I knew it was real," and he's like all chuffed with himself. So that was her redeeming quality for me.
So what you're saying is this film is consistent in doing the same thing over and over again?
Well, it's not so much as like doing it over and over again, but it's a theme.
It's a theme.
Yeah, it's a theme.
Same theme pushed into the narrative every 10 seconds.
Well, that's what a theme is. It's something that recurs.
If it's not about telling someone what they want to hear, it's that guy with the leg going, oh.
So anyway, Kurt Russell dies. We have Chicory, Mrs. O'Dwyer, and Mr. O'Dwyer leave. And they pretty much wrap it up quite quickly. We don't know if they make it back to Bright Hope.
Yeah.
I did like the scene where he tries to kiss her and she says, like, you've had, like, a weird voice box in your mouth, imitating the troglodytes, like, I'm not kissing you. And so he then rinses his mouth out. I thought that was a good touch because in films quite often they do kiss them and you think, oh no, they've just been doing that other thing. So I thought that was quite human, to be honest.
The one problem I had at the end was that they go tromping through the burial ground at the end.
Yes, instead of going a different way, yeah. I think at the beginning you kind of assume that Chicory's not going to make it. Like, he's not the best equipped at going on this. You think, oh, he's already got, like, a dead wife. It makes sense if his character was to die. And then to have him survive the whole thing, I think. Also, he's going to go back and be the sheriff.
Both of the weakest characters, or if you consider a woman a weak character too, all of the weakest characters survive, whereas the two strongest, the sheriff and John Bruder, get killed.
Yeah. So I think that brings us to the end. So we'll go through, Dave's favourite characters and favourite scenes. I feel like it's going to be hard pushed, but we'll start there anyway. Everybody's favourite character. We'll start with Dave, as it'll be short.
I I liked the old man at the start.
The one that's with David Arquette.
Sid Haig.
Yeah, he was all like a bit jittery and like bang, bang, bang. And he was very westerny, kind of like he just got it.
So my easy answer is Chicory for all the reasons I've explained already. But I wanted to give another like side character that I thought was a lot of fun was the mayor and his wife.
Yes!
Where the mayor is like this short little guy and he doesn't say anything and his wife does all the talking for him.
She's the real mayor. And they don't even direct their questions to the mayor. They talk to his wife.
Yeah.
My favourite character was John Bruder. As we said before, I think he kind of subverted my expectations and I thought he was going to be like the problem one out of the group. But he ended up being very brave, showing that he did have a heart, even though he like said and did some callous things. And also just to see Matthew Fox in a completely different role from what I'm used to seeing him play. Best scene.
The credits rolling.
I say for me, it's either... I like the campfire scenes because these people are like really bonding. You get to know the characters deeper. Like you said, you get to, within these scenes, learn more about John's character, that he isn't just this callous guy who's, claiming that he's killed so many Native Americans, but there's, some reasoning behind that. You get to see, like, Chicory's quirkiness. But also, I think I would... The other scene I would say would be the opening one, because it kind of really sets the tone for it.
Yeah.
How about you?
Apart from, obviously, the massacre, which is, like, the big showpiece, really. I will go with John being upset about his horse, because I think that, for me, was the first time where I was like, oh, he is human. Like, he puts on a show, but... at the end of the day, he says he makes some comment in the movie about like, oh, smart men don't get married.
Yeah.
But he obviously at some point had a thing with Mrs. O'Dwyer, so he's obviously probably been like rebuffed, so he's got like a bitter outlook on marriage. And if she possibly hadn't rebuffed his advances, then he might have been the one that was in Patrick Wilson's shoes and trying to find her. So learning more about him at like the campfire scenes, like you say. So that brings us to our final scores. Who wants to go first? I dread to think the scores.
1 out of 5 lemons.
How about you, Danielle?
I'll give it a 4. 4 out of 5. Thought it was a well-made film. It's not something that you expect. I thought the characters were really well developed. 1 point off for no sandworms.
Well, I gave it a 5 out of 5. Although I feel like even if they had got rid of the horror scene at the end, I would have still enjoyed I mean, for me, I suppose it was more like an adventure movie. They've got a quest, which is to go and rescue Mrs. O'Dwyer. And I just enjoyed watching the characters develop, even if it was a slow burner.
Aren't you guys both big Lord of the Rings fans? Isn't that what Lord of the Rings is? Just...
yeah.
a long walk.
Like the dialogue to me was very interesting. It wasn't a run-of-the-mill dialogue. It was very poignant, all the things that they were saying, and I just enjoyed it.
And regarding your comment about Lord of the Rings, Danielle, in this film, that I don't think that deserves a response.
And on that note, guys, thanks for coming with us into the desert. We will see you again. We'll take a long, slow walk to our next episode, which it'll be in complete contrast of this genre. It will be a lot more flashbangs for Dave. And music.
Yeah, a lot of music.
Yeah.
Sing-song karaoke.
So we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.